The two gallant Kenyans were coincidentally assassinated on the same date, but different years. The day that Muge and Masinde Muliro, can I say the day Muge and Muliro died are the same, but two different days. It was 14th August. Now, Muge was assassinated on 14th August 1990, while Masinde Muliro was assassinated 2 years later, exact date, 2 years later, 14th August 1992. They had a lot in common. The first we have noticed that it is the date. The second one, their names starting with MU. MU, that means Muge and Muliro. They both were the same. The name starts with MU, Muge and Muliro. That is something that comes to mind. Both were from a trip. Both were from a trip which was hurriedly arranged. Both were from a trip which was hurriedly arranged. Let us start with the first one. The first trip was Muge's. Muge's trip was arranged because of the following reason. One, there were, if you go into the truth, is that Kenyans, especially people who were, including these two gallant dead Kenyans, their intention were that Kenya becomes a one-party state or a no-party state, but because of KANU's dictatorship, it is KANU and Moi who forced multi-party on people. It is not people who wanted multi-party. It was the government that forced people into multi-party. Why? The government forced multi-party into people because those days you just made any mistake, or you, not even a mistake. If you differed with people in authority, you'd be chased away from KANU, and that would be your political death. But if KANU would have accepted this thing that is called divergent views, I can assure you that if KANU would have accepted divergent views, then we would not have multi-party in Kenya. We would have either no party system or one party system. But because of the KANU disciplinary committee, where even occasions when you were not wrong, but you had differed with another person, you had not even differed with the president, you had not even differed with the party, or maybe you are a threat, to a political heavyweight, you would be called before a kangaroo court, and you'd be told at the end of the day you'd be expelled from KANU. So both of them, if I may talk for them, I tend to believe that if KANU would have agreed for divergence views within KANU, KANU would have continued being the sole country, the sole party. The trip were hurriedly done. People are going around the country. Especially preachers. Not just preachers only. We had a lot of people. We even had human rights activists and so on and so forth. We had these people who went around the country trying to give people what we call civic education. They are going to give people civic education. And in those days, for you to have a public meeting, you have to have a license from the district commissioner. You had to have a license from the district commissioner for you to carry out public participation. Before I continue there, let me interject a bit by saying that if we are not careful, the district commissioners a license to hold a public rally is being brought back through the back door. It is being brought back through the back door because I'm seeing nowadays when you want to have a public participation thing, the police tell you that they have gotten intelligence that it will be infiltrated by outsiders, and so it will not be safe. So they have banned that. That was not the spirit of the 2010 Constitution. I used to work in the police. I trained everywhere. I trained in Kiganjo. I trained in GSU training school. I trained in CID training school. And I trained in special branch training school. We have instances where true people infiltrate demonstrators. The government has capability to know and even identify the infiltrators. And even those infiltrators, just like if you know somebody called Sakaja, instead of taking out his county law enforcement officers, Kanjo, to assist the police, he hires goons. So the goons, the government itself hires the goons to justify that and whatever. It's a long story. We are talking about Muliro and Mugi. So those days, for you to have any public meeting, you have to have a license. Nowadays, you are supposed to inform the police. But then somebody said that unless the police have gotten intelligence, nowadays they get intelligence. Not that they create the intelligence. Sakaja goes and hires goons, and then it takes them there. They are escorted by police and such a thing. That is what is happening. But in the constitution, they are supposed to make sure that if they get credible intelligence, I've covered that. So Muge was going to Busia. They were going around the country holding public meetings. And then somebody advised the government. If you ask me, it is quite possible that the hierarchy of the intelligence must have advised the government that why don't you just tell the district commissioners, provincial administration, nowadays it's called Ngao, why don't you tell them to deny those people license? So the district commissioner in Busia said that denying them the license for the meeting. And then Bishop Mugi remembered, Bishop Mugi remembered that he was the acting, when Mugi died, he was a bishop for two dioceses. Bishop Mugi was the bishop for Eldoret, which today has been subdivided. It used to go up all the way to Kapenguria. Kapenguria is now an independent diocese out of that. But Eldoret diocese was hived off Nakuru, and he was the first bishop of Eldoret. So when he was the bishop of Eldoret, ACK. At the same time, he was the acting bishop for Kataka in Busia. He was the acting bishop for Kataka in Busia. What had happened was that ACK in Busia was conducting their services in Luhya language, and the people from the Teso tribe felt that mass being conducted in Luhya, and they were not Luhyas. They wanted a diocese of their own. They wanted a diocese which they wanted to call it Kataka. Is it Kataka or Katakwa? Something like that. So at long last, the ACK, which at that time used to be called CPK, Church of the Province of Kenya, which today is called ACK, Anglican Church of Kenya, decided to divide the Busia, Busia diocese into two. Busia, Nambale, yeah. Nambale, about to say Nambale constituency. Nambale diocese and Kataka diocese. They were broken off. They were broken off from Busia diocese. And it was felt that Kataka diocese was in Western Kenya. Western Kenya is the prominent tribe there is Luhya. Now, if the new diocese come and they even take the bishop for Butere to go there, the Tesos would still think that they are under that. They had to bring a bishop who is neither a Muteso nor a Luhya. So they brought in a Kalenjin bishop who was Bishop Mugi. At his death, Bishop Mugi was the acting bishop of Kataka. So when the district commissioner just called a press conference and said, he called a press conference and said that I will not grant them the license. You see, those days, like nowadays, the police have to pretend, underline the word pretend. Nowadays, the police are to pretend by claiming that they have gotten information that goons will infiltrate your meeting. But those days, the district commissioner did not even need to pretend or anything. The then district commissioner for Busia, whose name I've forgotten, just said that no, you are not going to have that meeting. I'll not approve that meeting. People in the government departments, people in the KANU and relevant government departments were happy that they had succeeded that. And then at the nick of time, Bishop Mugi remembered, that is the word I'm saying. Bishop Mugi remembered that he was the bishop for Kataka. So he said that being the local bishop, I don't need a license to call for a crusade. So here was a bishop telling people that it will be a Christian crusade that will happen. It is a Christian crusade that will happen, and that in a Christian crusade or a Christian meeting, they did not need a license. They had already been licensed by God. So that is when the meeting went on, and the government side was beaten. They were now unable to react. Then that is when Okondo, Habenga Okondo, came up and said, "Don't come. It was a threat. Don't come. If you come, you'll see fire, and you may not come out alive." Of course, the former GSU officer, Muge, he knew, and I've carried several recordings of that. He was already aware of assassination attempts on him. Some even in West Pokot, a place called Mutembur, and a place called Chepkararat. So he knew that he was a constant target of assassination, and that is why he told Habenga Okondo that God does not approve murder, and if you kill me, you will not live. My blood will haunt you for the rest of the Bishop. I want you to understand this. Habenga Okondo, when he said so, he said that for the press, for the words to reach the president. That is one. On the other hand, Bishop Muge responded knowing that there are several attempts. But then Bishop Muge did what GSU officers do, and which in Luhya they say Kochichanga wakaludre. Kochichanga wakaludre. We go where it is hot. To give you an example, let's say there is a fire incident somewhere. You'll find people walking away from that place, but 3 people will be going there. 1, fire brigade will go there. 2, the ambulances will go there, and the police will go there for safety. So Huchichanga Wakaludire is the principle that when people are coming out of that place, we are going the opposite direction towards where it is hot. So he went there. So Muge's going there was now he now became more convinced. It was something that was had not been arranged, and in fact, one of the bishop, I think Okul, Okul reached someone and said, "Hey, hii kitu hapana." He chickened out. He did go to Busia. So what I'm saying that both were from a trip, and a trip which was victorious. Now let us talk about Muliro's trip 2 years later. Muliro's trip 2 years later, it started this way. I meant to understand, first of all, Inspector Wajakoya says that he has a case in London of which he cannot comment about such things that he knows. In case he comments, oh, I don't want to give him a blanket cover, but I'm saying that he's covered by a lawsuit in London where he says that once the lawsuit is over, he'll spill the beans. Uh, Most likely, if he spills the bean, I'll agree with him because somebody who has had information second hand or third hand or whatever cannot cannot be cannot be equated to somebody who witnessed what happened. But what had happened was the trip that Masinde. I've talked of the trip of what do you call Muge, Reverend Muge, Bishop Muge. I have talked of the trip of Bishop Muge. It was something that was not been there. And also, I want to talk about Masinde Muliro's trip. Masinde Muliro's trip, people had been saying there was a problem in the original Ford. There was a problem in the original Ford in that there was a problem in the original Ford that it had been divided into two. And Masinde Muliro had come up with a way of uniting them too. Of course, in Kenyan politics, you are called names because he was even being called that he's somebody who is offering himself as the alternative of the two, kupitia katikati. But we had a group in abroad, especially London, which was called Friend of Ford. Friend of Ford, FOF. Now, these people, when they understood that Masinde Muliro was trying to unite them, they called him for a meeting in London. Just an abrupt meeting. They called him to a meeting in London, whereby they were supposed to discuss how to unite Ford. Because if Ford would have been united in 1992, we would be talking of a different thing. As he was preparing to go there, he got several phone calls from Wajakoya, Inspector Wajakoya. Inspector Wajakoya, Professor Wajakoya, the presidential candidate. He used to call himself Wajakoya the fifth. I think he will call himself Wajakoya the sixth president. Wajakoya contacted Masinde Muliro through a phone call where he said that he had information which if both sides of Ford had it, they would unite. And when they unite, they would get Kanu out. And when they get Kanu out, Wajakoya would come and spill the beans. Of course, Wajakoya used to work in a music room. There's a video on it. Music room is a wiretapping room. Wiretapping room. And he used to tap. And those are the days when this system, you find nowadays, young boys and girls walking around with things in their ear. Nowadays, it's a Bluetooth. You listen to the music in your phone while you have those things. But during that time, there's something that used to be called Walkman. You place there music and you listen to it. So in the listening to the Walkman, listening to the music, even those people who are tapping phones, they were putting on things like that one. So that is why they called it music room. You are just like somebody who was playing music. So of course, I've never discussed it with Wajakoya, and maybe one day he will tell us. But I think there are some things where it is very necessary for you to do something, even if you know the dangers you are doing. Having worked in music room, he knew that him contacting Masinde Muliro through the phone would blow him up. But the urgency of the matter, he talked to Masinde Muliro and told him, I'm a former special branch officer. And you see, Masinde Muliro being in the position he was in, he had to take a lot of risks. I mean, not a lot of risks. He had to take a lot of counter checking. He had to ascertain this is Wajakoya. Am I not walking into a trap? ABCD, ABCD. So in the course of him even doing his counter checking, the intelligence also sent an agent. They sent an agent to shadow Masinde Muliro. Shadowed Masinde Muliro with instructions to try and monitor what Wajakoya was telling Masinde Muliro. What Wajakoya was to tell Masinde Muliro. That was the instructions. But coincidentally, as Masinde Muliro was leaving, he met Biwott at the airport, and even when he was coming back, he met Biwott at the. But he had a shadow. Now, when they went to London, wherever he attended the Friends of Ford meeting, and on the sidelines, he talked to Wajakoya. But it was made in such a way that Wajakoya and Masinde Muliro made it very sure that when they were talking, they made sure that nobody would monitor them, nobody would listen to them. And so this shadow who was shadowing Masinde Muliro was somebody who was made to understand, who was told that the information you get, if it will bring down the government, make sure that Masinde Muliro does not go back to Kenya alive. He does not go back to Kenya alive. That was the instruction. But when they talked in such a way that they were in a place that he could not monitor. He had to rely on the facial expressions, especially of Masinde Muliro. So when he was coming back, now we are going to the part of when they were coming back, when they were both coming back, and what had happened to an extent that special branch agents killed them. Now, when they were coming back, this fellow relied on the facial expression on Masinde Muliro's face. Now, I don't know whether Masinde Muliro happiness may have been from what the friends of Ford had told him. You see, they may have discussed something, and they may have emboldened him, and they may have even told him a lot of things, and he was so happy that things. Maybe he was more happy on that than what Jacoya told him, or vice versa, or even both. But he was walking a very happy man, a very jovial man, and this agent was convinced that if this person was to come back to Kenya, he would disclose a lot of secrets and the government would fall. So he decided, a decision was made while on the plane, that a decision was made while in London that a heart attack should. This thing about umbrella, no, I've already talked about umbrella. I don't want to mix a lot of things in one story. Umbrella is something that was used to be used by KGB, whereby the umbrella would be tipped with poison and such and such things. So such a story just came. If you look at my past videos, you'll read about umbrellas and KGB, how they used to use umbrellas. But in this case, this fellow was instructed not to give, not to do anything to Masinde Muliro while in London, because if Masinde Muliro would have died while in London, a proper independent autopsy would have been done, and it would be discovered the kind of thing that he had been killed on. So the plan was, while they were on air, it was decided that while they were on air coming back, this agent approached a Kenya Airways hostess and said, Unaona, do you see that fellow who is seated on that chair? 27B or is it 17-2? Something like, yeah. That fellow, when he asks for food or soda or anything, please mix with these drugs. The drugs were to activate a heart attack, cardiac arrest. Wanaita cardiac arrest. I only know of the police arrest. Well, upon as he was being cleared after landing, the cardiac arrest came due to the drug that had been mixed with whatever he ate or drank while on the, and whatever he ate and drank had been supplied by an air hostess who received the drugs from a special branch agent. Yeah, that is how he was killed. Now, when it comes to Bishop Mugi, Bishop Mugi knew that he was being followed. He knew that he was being followed. I've already recorded several videos on that, but I'll just say that it reached Kipkaren River. He saw there was a lorry ahead of him, which was emitting soot, and he wanted to use that lorry to zigzag before the pursuers would have any time to pursue him. He would have gone and maybe even gone to a side road and parked away from the main road, and they would pass. That was his plan. What he did not know, what he did not estimate, was that somebody had stolen Nyayo milk. And you know, anybody who is coming from a scene of crime, have you seen a pickpocket running away from a place he has pickpocketed somebody? This gentleman had okay, I don't know whether he's the one who was stolen. I don't know whether he's just a driver who was given milk to, but he was made aware that the milk is stolen and you have to run away very fast. So the bishop saw the vehicle, the lorry coming. What he did not know was that the lorry was being driven at a very fast. So he miscalculated. Suddenly they found themselves facing each other, and both of them were guilty. The bishop was guilty, being on the wrong side of the road, and this man was guilty because he was running away with the milk. So both of them decided in a nick of a second to run away from the road and be on the offside. If one of them would have decided to remain and the other one would have things, we would be talking of an old man today, a retired archbishop, maybe even a bishop of the ACK. So they both of them left that way, went to the offside and met head-on collision there. His heart, his chest, not heart, his chest was hit by the steering wheel. He was bleeding. He was whatever. And then remember, he's a former GSU man. He was a former GSU man, so he knows a lot. I'm not a former GSU man, but I'm a GSU trained man. So he had that accident, and then those people were pursuing him. The special branch people, they were four. There was an inspector, there was a driver, there was an escort, and there was a Luhia from Busia, who was a local person to assist them find Panya routes, to assist them should they come into contact with the local police and such a thing. He was just an escort of them also, local escort. The name we borrowed from dog section is that he was the dog escort. But the inspector in charge came out with a white handkerchief, went and pretended to be doing first aid to the bishop. Why the white handkerchief? If when somebody is bleeding, white cloth is the one that manifests blood more than any other clothing. It is the one that manifests blood. So that when you see him, remember the same thing also happened to uh, Frederick Simiyu Masinde, the former MP for Madare. So when you do that, you wipe somebody with a with a white handkerchief. It shows the blood and whatever, but the handkerchief has some chemicals, so you breathe in the chemicals. The bishop breathed in the chemicals, and he knew what was happening. The bishop was dying, but the GSU officer knew. When you have an accident, your mind, your head and mind and whatever can know what is happening, but your body is weak, it cannot happen. That is why Alexander Kipsang Muge said, "May the will of the Lord happen." And after saying that, he died. Both of them, what do you say? Both of them were from a trip that Moi government was scared of. That is, I've really emphasized that. And both of them were sincere in their call for change. Both of them were sincere in their call for change, because if you see most of the people shouting and whatever, we have, even today, we still have people that we call political opportunists. But if you look at both Muliro and Muge, they were sincere in their call for change. These are people who, if Bishop Muge is the type of a person who would even have given up his religious work if it were to be the benefit of Kenya. Masinde Muliro would also have given up his political profession if it were to assist the ordinary Kenyan. But in Kenya, during those days and today, and even during independence days, we have very many political opportunists. These two are the opposite of them. We have several genuine political leaders in the past and even in the present, but coincidentally, these two are sincere political players, or human rights players. Those people who do things out of their sincere trust, and not political opportunists. Both had support across tribal boundaries. Haile Cousins, hey, I'm the first person to call Mr. Regardless Mufiala. Uh, you can see politics today has become politics of tribes. Hey, Cousins, but these are people who had support across the boundaries. I do believe that their their support and supporters outside their main tribes was more manifest than even from within their own tribes. And like most politicians in the past, before that, then, and even now, who, like what Regardless says, have your neighborhood support so that you can, you see, if you follow what Mufiala, if you follow what Mufiala's political, what do you call, doctrine, is that when they will go down to the round table, the big table, uh, and you are a person like, what do you call, Matiangi. Sasa Matiangi, wewe na you are nini, all cases put together, they cannot reach the number of the Kikuyus in Rift Valley. So no, we cannot support you to be the president or whatever. That is the politics of Kenya. It is not only Mr. Regardless who has them. It is everybody. It is most of the politicians in Kenya, they do that. You just talk to the tribal leader. He makes sure that in his tribe will follow you. But you'll find that these and others, they are very many, because if I start mentioning uh, politicians or religious leaders or just leaders who are accepted throughout the country in such a way that you cannot associate them with their own tribe, it is a very, very big list, of which, if I start again, it will take as long time as I've just taken. But today, we are dedicating to these heroes who coincidentally, there's a lot of things which are coincidental to them. Uh, uh, One of them being the date, the names are almost similar, the policies and trajectories and whatever are so much similar. And in Kenya, we owe a lot to them. We owe a lot to them. And should the members of their family get this video, we appreciate you, and we appreciate you for giving your person to us.